Hello, everyone. This is Lisa Andrus, Psychic Medium, and this is your weekly reading for Monday, May 18th through Sunday, the 24th of May, 2015. And as you can see this week, I'm using the magical messages from the Fairies Oracle cards. And as usual, I have pre-shuffled the cards and drawn them to save time, and these will represent what is going on this week. So this is your Monday, Tuesday card, and the card is Spiritual Teacher. And it says your life purpose involves teaching others about healing and spirituality. Well, right away, I have to say they want me to tell you a little story because, like me, you may be a spiritual teacher. Now, you may be a practice psychic medium or angel therapist or something else, and you have maybe thought of teaching what you know. And I have to say I'm hearing writing as well, and writing what you know. But then you don't feel qualified. I had taught my first class over the weekend in probably about 5 years because, and that means I taught a class to mediums. And in between that, I was living life, going through some life lessons that I needed to have, writing my book, Gifted. And then I really could put it off and put off my guidance no longer. Now, I have to say, one of the hardest things about setting up something like that, and because I've had more mediums or spiritual people in some way that want a spiritual practice sit in my chair, if you will, when I'm doing readings at psychic fairs. And so many times they say to me, but what's the next step? Well, here's the deal. This business is not very structured. Self-employment in general is not very structured, but it's really difficult. Let's just say that you're going to go for some sort of corporate job or some sort of degree. Even if you do Reiki or something like that, you've got a little bit of structure with all the different certifications. And this really is not structured, and it's not black and white. It's you go with your gut and you go as you're guided. Now back to the spiritual teacher message here. If you have had the repetitive thought of maybe I should teach a class, but then you shoo it or poo-poo it and say no. I taught my first class and I had the repetitive thought to teach another class for at least a year, and I put it off. Because I will do things think about when's the right time of year, who will be there. I don't teach a lot of classes or do events a lot in the summer because people tend to vacation when the kids are out of school. And I tell you, you could think yourself to death with all of that stuff. And I finally just had to put a date on the calendar. I did it one day when I was on the way out of a psychic fair that I did, at a place where I knew I would also be able to teach a class, and it just popped into my head, and I mentioned it to the assistant that worked there, and boom, I was on the calendar. And I didn't have time to overthink it. Now, still going into the class, oh boy, and then you got to put a price on it, and then you think, am I charging too much? Am I charging too little? I mean, you could overthink the thing to death. I think I had only had a few people that were pre-registered, and I kind of had said to the universe, I need at least 5 people there if I'm going to teach again, because I just need to know that it's worth my while. And it's really hard, whether it's a class or an event, say like a medium demonstration or a psychic gallery or something, to expect that people are going to show up. But you have to have faith that exactly the right people will show up. So now we will go to my class that even to the last minute I thought, I don't know what's going to happen. I've got 4 people pre-registered, and then the day before, the 5th pre-registered, so I knew I'd had my 5, and I didn't know if people would show up the day of the class. Well, I ended up with 9 people in that class, and 2 of them were from out of state. One told me she had gotten up at 5 in the morning and driven from Chicago, which is about a 7-hour drive, to get to my class, which started at noon in Minneapolis. She was also from Virginia, and I think had just stopped to see some family in Chicago. It was such an honor that somebody would travel so far to me and say something about how my book Gifted changed her and she wanted to meet me and go to the class. And then, of course, she says to me that she lives in Virginia Beach, which is near Edgar Casey's ARE Institute. I believe that's what it's called. And I should teach classes there. Now, for right now, I've chosen just to stay within the area that I live and figure if people want to come and see me, they can. And when I feel guided, I will travel elsewhere. But the moral of the story is, had I second-guessed myself, people would not have the opportunity to have learned, and one of the greatest honors I could have, besides being a medium and helping other people through my work, is helping other mediums go out and help other people. Because there aren't enough of us. They're just, of the people that are practicing mediums, think of how many people are born mediums that never wake up to the call. So what an honor for me to be able to help other people on their journey. And some of the students there asked me to teach a part 2 to the class, and I knew that I probably would, but that kind of got me going. So they wanted me to tell you that story so that if you're thinking of doing something like that, you never know how much you're going to mean to people until you hear something like that. That again, to this person in my class, she said, when she was doing tarot readings and she started to get some deceased people come through in the readings. And somebody she knew said to her, you have to read this book before you continue. And it was my book, Gifted. And I could even just get a little emotional when I'm saying that, because how humbling and what an honor. And if you didn't do the things like write or hold a class, it's one thing to be doing the readings and doing the spiritual work or doing the acting work or the singing work or whatever it is, but then to be able to share it with others and to teach others. You're not here on earth to keep all this heavenly information to yourself. It's, I decided I wanted to be the best medium I could be. And now, in my having learned it, it's my job to help other people with that. And if you are resonating with this, it's yours too. So don't overthink it. The only next step is the repetitive thought that's in your mind. Now follow it, because there are people out there that are just waiting for you to teach them. Okay, this is our card for the middle of the week, and it says spring. And it says, your desires fully manifest as the flowers begin to bloom. What I'm feeling is that this is next spring if you are in the northern hemisphere, because right now it is spring. For some of this might mean this spring, but I heard next spring. Now, if you're in the southern hemisphere, I believe that spring will be sooner than a year from now. And whatever it is that you're wishing, you have to have faith that all of your desires are going to come to fruition in the spring. I feel like a helpful person is going to cross your path, especially for those of you that are thinking of something having to do with business. If you're thinking of starting a business or going into business or a business loan, there's going to be a person that is a female that is going to help you. And if it's not a female, it's still, you need to maybe consider getting another person to help you. But it looks like good things are coming. They're saying don't give up hope. Don't give up hope. It's not going to get bad. It might feel bad, but remember, there's sun at the end of every storm. And to hang in there and know that your desires are fully in the process of manifesting, even if you do not yet see the results. Okay? And here is our card for the weekend, which says, admit your true feelings to yourself. Be honest with yourself. Only you know what it is that you truly desire. I'm seeing something as I'm reading that. A vision is coming to me that I think it's something that I saw on Facebook that said, if you don't feel good right now, sit in silence and ask your heart what it wants. And if you don't feel like you can hear anything in the silence, the answers do come sometimes in silence. But if you don't feel that you can do that, whether you can or not, maybe just take out a piece of paper and start to list what it is that you want. Nobody has to see it. You can rip it up into little pieces when you're done, but it might help you come to the truth, and nobody has to know. They're saying to me, you are safe, child. You are safe. You volunteered to come to this earth to help other people. It's time to admit your true feelings to yourself and to others, and speak your truth. Stand in your truth, and let the chips fall where they may. Last year, when I decided, I've always wanted a child, and I'm in my 40s now, and on and off in my life, I've experienced infertility, the end of a marriage because of it, and it was painful. And I kind of put it to rest. And then all of a sudden last year, probably 10 years after I'd put it to rest, and I didn't want to feel any of that again, I opened the door back up, which meant I could potentially feel the pain again. But all of a sudden the light bulb went off in my head, and I decided I want to adopt a child. If I was never going to have the child of my own body, I would still rather adopt a child than be without one. And at the time I was in a relationship, and I had to admit not only my true feelings to myself. It's not an easy thing to realize you want to adopt and to stand in your truth and say, I want to do that. And the person in the relationship that I was with did not want to do that with me. But I had to stand in my truth and let the chips fall where they may. And it was uncomfortable and painful because we ended up parting ways, albeit amicably, but still parting ways. And that was as a result of my admitting my true feelings to myself. But I inherently knew that relationship had to end so that I could move on to whatever I was moving on to. And I don't know what that is. I'm not going to adopt tomorrow. I don't feel like that's going to happen for a couple of years. But for whatever reason, the admitting of my true feelings to myself led to another ending. But it wasn't a bad ending, even though it had some pain that went through it. It's time to admit your true feelings to yourself and let the chips fall where they may. Okay, they want me to take a moment to talk to you about Mercury retrograde, which starts today and I believe goes through June 11th. I am, if you will, a child ruled by Mercury. I have a sun in Gemini, a moon and rising in Virgo, and I've got about 4 Gemini planets and 3 Virgo planets in my natal chart. And those are both signs that are ruled by Mercury. So to say I feel Mercury retrograde a little bit more than others is probably true. But at the same time, I actually enjoy Mercury retrograde because I have a knowing that we need it to realign things. And even though there can be some mixed communication and some technical difficulties that happen as a result of Mercury retrograde, I think that it's really an opportunity for us to correct the things that we need to correct. Whether it's getting something repaired, like a car repair, or maybe it's working on a book that you started and never finished. It's a great time to do stuff like that. You'll hear, don't buy electronics or don't buy a new car. I don't believe that. I believe that if it's supposed to happen, it will happen. I heard astrologer Mark Husson say that if you had bought a house in Mercury retrograde, it doesn't mean you can never sell it. It just means perhaps it'll sell in another Mercury retrograde. So know that it's not a time to dread. It's really just a time to go with the flow. And to know that sometimes it's time to go within and realign things for your greatest and highest good. I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in to me each week. If you like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already, and know that I love each and every one of you very much.